These are the quiz corrections for Algebra 2a, quiz number 23 on May 8th, 2015. If you see something where it says LWQ, you can go back to last week's quiz correction video number 22, and it's the same problem from the previous week. First one is factor completely. Notice you have 4 terms, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to take the greatest common factor of the first 2 terms, which is 8x. Remember, you can double check that by distributing. 8x times x is 8x squared, and 8x times y is 8xy. The greatest common factor of 32x plus 32y is 32. Notice here that I have something in common, that's my x plus y's. And you're left with 8x plus 32. But notice you could take a GCF out of here, take out a GCF of 8. You'll get 8 times quantity x plus 4 times quantity x plus y. The correct answer is B. Let's see if we can zoom in one more. Alright, question number 2, you are essentially doing division of polynomials. So I'm going to use long division, p plus 8, and my dividend is p squared plus 4p minus 29. Remember, to start the problem, you do p goes into p squared, you simplify that to p. P times p is p squared, p times 8 is 8p, and you're subtracting here. So you want that to equal 0, which it does, and then 4 minus 8 is a negative 4. So negative 4p. Bring this one down. P goes into negative 4p. That simplifies to be negative 4. So negative 4 times p is negative 4p, and negative 4 times 32 is a negative 32. Negative 4 on the opposite of negative 4, that becomes plus, so that's 0p. Negative 29 minus 32, that becomes positive 32, and so positive 32 and negative 29 gives me a positive 3. So this is my remainder. So notice I have p minus 4 with the remainder positive 3 over p plus 8, choice A. Question number 3, you can look at last week's quiz for and quiz number 22. Question number 4, I have 4/3 to the negative 2 power. The first thing I would do is distribute this negative 2 power to each of the exponents, so that becomes 4 to the negative 2, and also in the denominator that becomes 3 to the negative 2. Anytime it has a negative exponent, you're just going to switch places. And when I switch places, when it comes up top, then you take off the negative exponent. This is 3 squared and 4 squared, which is 9 over 16. Question number 5, you need to recognize the math operation between the parentheses, which is there's no plus or minus, therefore it's multiplication. Here you can use FOIL or your double distribution of your arrows, or I use a box. R minus 7 and R plus 2. You'll multiply, you get r squared, negative 7r, 2r, and negative 14. So we're multiplying first. And the next thing we're going to do is add or combine like terms. So these are my like terms. So I get r squared minus 5r minus 14. Question number 6 is a difference of squares. Difference means if there's subtraction, I can take the square root of both of those. That'll give me 3k's. Square root of 64 is 8. One has to be positive, one equals negative. The key word here is solve, which means you have to use the zero product rule. 3k plus 8 equals 0, and 3k minus 8 equals 0, and you'll get 8/3 and negative 8/3, which is choice C. Now, if you didn't recognize those different squares in that pattern, you can always do 9k squared plus 0k minus 64. So 6 questions on the front page, 2 points apiece. That page was 12 points. Question number 7. It's asking you to simplify. So the first thing I'm going to do is deal with the minus sign, or distribute. So it becomes a negative 2x and a minus 4. Then I'm going to go through and combine like terms. I have a positive x, negative 2x, and a 1x. So 1, negative 2, and 1. That equals 0x, or the x's cancel. My y's here, I have a negative y. And that negative 4 is still left over, so my choice is D. There's also a new symbol I'm using on the quizzes. If you see me put a 0 through a slash through it, that basically means you've left the problem empty. It's still a 0, but you left it empty. Question number A is matching these equations of circles with their graphs. That was on last week's quiz. Question number 9, this says negative 10 to the 0 power. Negative 10 to the 0 power is negative 1 times 10 to the 0 power. 10 to the 0 power is 1, so negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. The common mistake is to think that the answer is just a positive 1, because you just think it's negative 10 to the 0 power, but you have factors of negative 1 times 10. Question number 10 was on last week's quiz. Look at the video. Same thing for number 11, same exact problem. Same thing with number 12. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 multiple choice questions times 2. That's 12 points for that page. Question number 13. Here it asks you to simplify m minus 4. Let me make sure I show this one. This is wrong, so I'm going to show you the wrong way of doing this. Is if you think that you can distribute that 3, and you might think it's m to the third minus 64. And again, this is wrong because you can't distribute the exponent because this is not a power rule. Power rule only refers to exponents, and with inside here, these are not exponents. Exponents refers to multiplication. I have addition and subtraction. These are called factors. So if you wrote out m minus 4 3 times, I gave you 2 points. At least you understand that it's 3 binomials. If you multiply the first 2 binomials, you can use FOIL or the box method, m minus 4 and m minus 4. Multiply gives m squared, negative 4m, negative 4m, negative 16. You combine like terms here, and that gives you m squared minus 8m plus 16. If you got this far, I gave you 3 points. Remember, you have it to the third power, which means you have to multiply your answer by m minus 4 again. M squared times m, multiplying the same base, you're going to add the exponents, so m to the third, negative 8m squared, positive 16m, negative 4m squared. Negative times a negative is a positive, so that gives you a positive 32m. Negative times a positive is a negative 64. Notice how I can combine like terms in this direction, and here's your answer. Question number 14, you should recognize that you have multiplication, so you can either use FOIL there, or you can use your box method, which I did. Same thing, you're going to multiply first, then add, and you'll get 2k squared minus 23k plus 11. Remember, you're going backwards from previous week's lessons. You can essentially take this problem here and factor, meaning you can use your Xbox or your Snowflake, and you'll go back to get those factors. Question number 15 says factor completely. So anytime you're factoring, the very first thing you should think about is a greatest common factor. The greatest common factor there is 2. So if you just stop there, I give you 2 points. W to the third minus 8 you should recognize is a difference of cubes. W to the third power and 2 to the third power. So my A value is W and my B value is 2. Here's your equation, A minus B times the quantity A squared plus AB plus B squared, and you just do your substitutions. There's my W minus my B value, which is 2. A squared, so that's the expression A, which is W, so W squared, times AB, so A times B is W times 2, which is 2W, and B squared is that expression B value squared, so that would be plus 4. And don't forget the GCF. If you forgot the GCF, I took off a point. Question number 16, I made extra credit. You had to get the whole thing correct in order to get the 2 points extra credit. If you only got part of it right, I still give you a 0. The reason I made extra credit because now you're factoring. We haven't done one in class where it has to the 6th power, but you're completely fully capable of doing that. If you pull out a greatest common factor, that's 4x squared. You'll notice you're left with x to the 4th minus 5x squared plus 6. Notice how you can take your a, b, and c inside the parentheses. You'll get splitting of negative 5x squared to be negative 2x squared and negative 3x squared. Take out your greatest common factor here, that's x squared. Greatest common factor is negative 2, x squared, negative 3, and these become your factors here. And don't forget the greatest common factor there. So this page was 2 points apiece. So, oh, sorry, these are free response. 4, 4, 4. That would give me 12. And this question is 2 points extra credit. Question number 17. Find the equation of the circle with center -7, 3 and passes through the point 4, -1. Notice here it doesn't tell you to find the tangent line. So a lot of students thought, nowhere in this little sentence does it say the word tangent, so you shouldn't be finding the tangent. It says find the equation of a circle. Well, if you know that, just write down the standard equation. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Just do your substitution for your h and your k value. So here's my h value, it's -7, and my k value is +3. Remember, that minus sign has to be there. And then you substitute in your x value and your y value. And what you've done is you've substituted for all of these variables except for the r. And what you're doing is you're solving for r. 4 minus -7 is a +11. 11 squared is 121. -1 minus 3 is -4, and -4 squared is 16. Add those together and you get 137. R squared equals 137. Well, the reason why I need to solve for r squared is because in my standard form of a circle, I need that r squared, which is over here. So now I have my r value. You need your r squared value and your h and your k, and then you can just do your substitutions for your h, k, and your r squared, which I've done there, and this is your equation in standard form. If you just got x plus 7 squared plus y minus 3 squared, it gave you 3 points. There's how you're missing the r squared. If you forgot to write the power of 2, because circles have both the power 2 and the x and the y variables, I give you 2 points. And remember, the key idea is this is not a tangent line, so you're not finding a linear equation. Question number 18 was, notice the key words of that verb there. It says graph a circle, so you're actually drawing a circle. And this was on last week's quiz, so you can take a look at that solution there. The difference about this problem is I only made it worth 4 points this week. So 4, that gives me 8 points for this page. Question number 19. Notice how you have division of polynomials, and notice how you're missing a 0t to the third. So here's my placeholder here, 0t to the third. T goes in t to the fourth, t to the third time, multiply, get t to the fourth, and a minus t to the third. Remember, you can just multiply the coefficients of their like terms, so 1 minus 1 is 0, 0 minus a -1 is a +1. Bring down your t squared. T goes into t third, t squared times, multiply. And now we're going to subtract. 1 minus 1 is 0. 1 minus a -1 is a +2. +2t squared, bring this one down, gives you a t. T goes into 2t squared, 2t times. Go ahead and multiply. Now we're going to subtract. 2 minus 2 is 0. 1 minus a -2, that becomes a positive, so that's 3t minus 3. Bring that one down. That goes in 3 times. And notice how you have a remainder of 0. If you got at least 2 of these correct, I gave you, or at least 1 or 2 of them correct, I give you 2 points. If you got at least 3 of them right, I give you 3 out of 4. Notice how you could have done this problem with synthetic division. My coefficients are 1, 0, 1, 1, and -3. Don't forget the placeholder there. Now, t minus 1, which means if you set it to the zero product rule, t is equal to a +1. Bring down your first value. You'll multiply these two, and then you add down. Multiply, add down. That gives me, that's a 2. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 plus 2 is 3. 1 times 3 is 3. -3 plus 3 is 0. So a lot of students are getting confused with the synthetic division. Notice how this power of, or this 1 right here represents t to the 4th. But when you're doing division by t, it decreases it by 1, the exponent. So this 1 here represents t to the 3rd, t squared, t, and this is your constant. And that very last number there, that is your remainder 0. That question was out of 4 points. Number 20, this was very similar to the previous week's quiz, but instead of making it x squared minus 9, I made it x squared minus 6x plus 9. Remember, when you're factoring and you're solving, those are solving your x-intercepts. So that's 1 point for your x-intercepts. Because this is in standard form, your constant is a positive 9, which is your y-intercept. Notice this is the power of 2. Power of 2 means you have to graph of a parabola. The u and opens up. Some of you thought, well, Mr. Ng, I see x equals 3 comma 3, and you thought that was your center or your vertex. Well, x is equal to 3, and also that means x is also equal to 3. That means it's not an ordered pair. That just means it's 3 twice. We call that a double root, which means your vertex is actually on the x-axis. Here's your point breakdown for that problem. So 4, that would be 8. Last page, graph. So notice it tells you the directions, and make sure you label all your intercepts. We don't need a center for this one. Now notice that this is the power of 1, so you can think of it as y equals negative 2x, negative 2/3 x plus 0. That's slope-intercept form. Notice you have a negative slope, so that's 1 point for your slope. 1 point for knowing that it's linear. It's not a circle. It's not a parabola. We notice that we can find your x-intercept by making y equal to 0, and you'll get 0. And your y-intercept, make it x equal to 0, y is 0, which basically means that the line goes through the origin. This is both your x and your y-intercept. And you should have known that because that's your b value in slope-intercept form, which is 0 right here. It is possible to get 0 points on a problem like this if you can't even recognize that it's a linear graph. And question number 22, that was on last week's quiz, so you can look for the explanation. I hope this was helpful for you to make quiz corrections and then you don't make the same mistakes on the next quiz or test.